Hey everybody, PKFT1 here. It has been quite a while since I have posted. I have to apologize. If you're curious what's going on with the channel, you can watch my last video. However, I wanted to do another discussion video because it's been so long. So I have Blur with me today. And today I specifically wanted to talk about what to expect from Sega in the coming year, or really in the coming months. So there's been so much news and speculation kind of going around with E3 coming up that I really wanted to kind of do a quick news roundup. So I have Blur here, and if you guys don't know, Blur it's a pretty big Sonic aficionado. And so she will have a lot to say when we get into the Sonic news segments, I believe. But first, let's talk about one of the big things we've learned recently. So if you guys aren't aware, Sega recently had some sort of like financial report meeting thing, as well as with a few recent announcements for various games. Or I think the first time we really got a taste of this was back in E3 of last year when Nintendo presented SMT5. They showed that there was going to be a worldwide release date, which I think was pretty unprecedented at that time, especially for something, as relatively niche as SMT. Since then, we have gotten more and more word from Sega, and now we know from their last report that they are really putting a focus on worldwide releases. And I believe they specifically throughout this report really focus on Yakuza, Persona, and Sonic. So Sonic, correct me if I'm wrong, Blur, but hasn't Sonic always been a worldwide release?
Yes. In the past few years, it has been. Sonic Forces was a worldwide release, and I'm pretty sure Generations was. Well, I mean, there were like some differences, like not exactly the same day, but it was like within the same month. In some odd cases, it actually came out in the US before it actually came out in Japan.
Hmm.
So there is some inconsistency, but like they normally come out within each other like 1 or 2 weeks. But maybe they want to change that fully to the same day.
Right. And we know with Persona, it's typically, quite a few months before we get it. I don't know, what is it? Usually 7-8 months in between each one. Except I think for Strikers, we had to wait a full year to get.
Yeah, we did have to wait a full year for that.
I think it differs, obviously, varying on what specific game it is. And obviously, with everything going on in the world, there have been various things affecting that. However, we did get Strikers. But Yakuza has always been a series where we don't usually get the English translation until months and months later. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Yakuza Like a Dragon may have been the longest it took to localize Yakuza release. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, if you're not counting the eventual, I'm sure there will be a release of like Ishin or something, which hasn't come out yet.
Do you think Yakuza 7 took longer because they also did English voice acting?
That's definitely a possibility, because we know they did the same for Judgment, but I'm not sure what the actual time in between the English and Japanese release were of that. But yeah, I think that was definitely a factor. However, we know this is something that they said they're going to be pushing for, so I would expect that whatever the next big Persona release is, expect them to push a worldwide release for that, which I think is pretty
Which
exciting.
I think is really cool. I'm excited for that. It might mean we have to wait a bit longer than usual
Yeah, like if you
because
average it out, yeah, that's true.
it's like you have to wait for everyone to translate it, and
Hmm.
those games are long, so
Right. I think
it's a lot of translating.
and the benefit would be you don't have to worry about avoiding um full spoilers
Spoilers.
for months and months and months. I tried to avoid spoilers for Strikers like the plague, and I was pretty successful with it, with the occasional spoiler here and there. But it is one of those things that's always felt like this thing that's nagging at you in the back of your mind. So I'll be very happy to not necessarily have to worry about that on as frequent of a basis. So
Yeah, I feel the same way, except for when sometimes games leak like a few days beforehand.
true. Yeah, that's something I guess that will always be unavoidable. But that's a good point. So, I mean, we're going to have to be on our toes regardless. However, the news that we've probably gotten most recently since then is that Sega is confirmed to be at both E3 as well as Summer Games Fest, which is the show that Jeff Keighley put on last year in lieu of E3, which was canceled. So we actually have two shows that we know for sure Sega is going to be at. Now, we have no idea at what level of, like, notoriety Sega is going to appear in. Because you have to remember, Sega does have franchises aside from Sonic, Yakuza, Persona, Shin Megami Tensei. Mm-hmm. I think generally when they show up to these other events that they did earlier in the year, it was something like Humankind or Total War, or
like I know, like I think it was last year Tokyo Game Show. Everyone was expecting a Sonic announcement, and they literally didn't do anything. I know they announced like maybe some things, but nothing anyone was interested in.
Right, exactly. And so we have to take that with a grain of salt. Sega could be at these shows, but they could just bring something that nobody's really going to be, raving about. Like I said, Total War or Humankind could totally show up, but I think Humankind comes out in August. I have no idea what's going on with Total War. What's the studio that did Alien Isolation?
Oh, I don't know the studio by name.
And then you have Team Sumo.
Okaboji knows.
Yeah. You have Team Sumo, who did like the Sonic racing games. So, I mean, you could have these weird announcements show up that you're not thinking much about at all. And we know that they're considering bringing back old IPs. So it's hard to say for sure what is going to be specifically at these shows. Plus, it doesn't even necessarily have to be an announcement, like a brand new announcement. It could totally be a trailer for a game, that we already know about, which there's plenty of, or will be by this time. So one game I want to talk about that could totally be there is Lost Judgment. So if you guys don't know, I totally missed this. I wish I had done a video on it, but the next installment by Ryoga Gotoku Studio came through. It's not a new Yakuza game per se. It's a sequel to Judgment, which, if you guys don't know, is a spin-off series of Yakuza. This is the sequel. Obviously picks up with the same characters. And I actually have to admit, I have not played through Judgment. I have started it. I have not finished it. So I definitely want to finish it before this game comes out. Comes out on September 24th. There were some really cool things they showed off. There's skateboarding. There's also a whole new thing they've added, which I think is a really interesting aspect, which is basically, they've added the new high school aspect to Yakuza, which has never been a thing, where you actually, I think a large part of the story has to do with these high school kids. So you actually have to go undercover, at this high school, and you have to interact with the students, and you actually have to... I've seen like little clips of mini games where you're doing like an aerobics class essentially with all these girl students, and you're leading them in it. So it's kind of like 24 Jump Street, where you have to go undercover at this high school and get to know everybody. So I'm excited for that aspect for sure, and they really emphasize that that's kind of going to be a new thing they're exploring. I think they're just referring to it as school stories. And because Yakuza has gotten so huge recently, I think in their earnings report, they actually mentioned that Yakuza Like a Dragon is the best performing Yakuza game of all time. So with this being a worldwide release, it seems like they're really going all in on Lost Judgment to try to get it probably more into the Western psyche like the Yakuza series has become. So I fully expect them to maybe bring this game to more shows than they typically would. So I wouldn't be surprised if they totally bring this game to E3 or Summer Games Fest as well, just to show more of it. Because we still, I believe, only have the one trailer so far. So, or maybe there's two trailers.
Yeah, that makes sense that we'd see it.
Right. So, look forward to that. I also want to touch on a really crazy announcement that we had this week. It didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. There were a lot of leaks about this, some listings, I think, online. But if you guys are into the fighting game scene whatsoever, Virtua Fighter made a comeback this week. So Virtua Fighter 5, which is a game that originally released in 2006, I think Final Showdown, which was kind of the Ultimate Edition of it, came out in 2010. And I really know nothing about Virtua Fighter, aside from the little bit I've played in Yakuza and when I did my Ryosuke Hori video. And of course, Yu Suzuki and his history with it. But it made a comeback this week. We got an announcement, I think just yesterday, for Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. It is a remaster by Ryuga Gotoku Studio. Remastered the entire game, ported it to the Dragon engine, redid all the graphics. I believe the game, as far as I can tell, seems to play the same and everything. Animations and everything obviously are the same. But it's been touched up quite a bit. We don't know to what extent it's going to be changed, I guess, quite yet. And the craziest thing about it is the game comes out literally next week. So they announce it just a week before it comes out. It's a PS4 exclusive, and it comes out for free on PS Plus day one. So we literally, if you have PS Plus, you get it for free June 1st. I would say if you guys are if you're a fan of Virtua Fighter at the slightest, if you want Virtua Fighter 6, definitely play this. I don't think we know anything about the online play. I don't know if we know it's going to have rollback. I don't think it's probably not going to. However, I think it's really cool that Yakuza's team has also been working on this in the background. It's just a testament to the studio, really, about how much work they get done. They release a game a year, and then they do this crazy remaster of Virtua Fighter 5, port it to their own engine, and release it within, a few months of the Western release of Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's crazy what those guys do, especially when you think of the quality that they have to maintain. Did you hear about that at all, Blur?
I did not hear about any of that.
It's nuts. Probably
that's news to me.
One of the craziest things Sega's done in a long time, especially because Sega is notorious about being very frugal in terms of which IPs they decide to revive. Because what's the last time you've seen them revive an old IP?
Oh man, I don't know. A lot of them have kind of died. I know Morgan liked Rhythm Thief, but that one is pretty dead now.
True, yeah. I don't know the last time they've done a Knights game. The last I heard of
oh yeah, they could try to bring Knights back, but after Balan Wonderworld, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's necessarily
Even though they weren't the ones who made it. That was Square Enix, but...
Right. However, I believe they've been expressing interest also in their earnings reports about bringing back IPs, and Knights was one of the ones they were looking at.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Knights or Crazy Taxi or Jet Set Radio.
That's another really popular one that I think people have wanted back forever. I think the last time we got a Shinobi game was 3DS.
Oh, Shinobi would be cool.
And I never played that one. I'd like to go back and check it out. Echo the Dolphin has been MIA forever. You know what game I would?
But I'm sure you could find a way.
I would love them to kind of so a while back, I don't know if you know Killer Instinct. It was an old classic rare fighting game that they put out for SNES, and then they did one on 64, and then was dead for years and years, and people who were fans of the original, the old arcade game, really wanted it back, and Xbox actually brought it back by a new studio in 2014, I think, is when it got announced. Or maybe it was 2013. That sounds about right. And it kind of came out, and it was, I believe, a critical success. People loved that game. However, Xbox, as far as I know, just hasn't really been wanting to do much with the IP since. But I would love Sega to revive Eternal Champions.
Oh my gosh!
I think that IP could be so cool in modern
Eternal
day.
Champions, I'd play it.
I honestly, you just have to make it the Sega version of Mortal Kombat, and I think it could be the coolest thing ever. Especially if you gave it like a decent budget. I would love that to come back, but I can't imagine they would bring it back with Virtua Fighter being like the fighting game that current, and obviously Virtua Fighter is the much more popular version.
You know what will never come back?
What's that?
Cyborg Justice.
Yeah, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's okay. I think some of these games are probably relatively obscure in like the modern day. But there's a lot of Sega. I mean, Sega is sitting on a giant mountain of IP that, with the right publisher, I mean, they just had Streets of Rage 4 come out to pretty high praise. So I feel like Sega could have some success. They just need to do it.
What if they brought back all these cool IPs and then they brought back Billy Hatcher?
I feel like Billy Hatcher could make a splash nowadays. Like,
yeah, if you made it weird enough, you probably could. You could probably you still sell it for kids if you made it like really out there but fun to play. You could probably. I've never actually played the original Billy Hatcher, so I don't think I've even really watched gameplay. I just kind of know the character, and I just remember the commercials they used to show on TV.
Same. I feel like it would be fated the same as like you said, Battle in Wonderland, or what was the other game I was just thinking of? There's another game. I feel like it would kind of almost be like Ukulele or Panzer Dragoon. Like it would go that way, where people kind of see it and they're talking about it the first time they see it, and then all of a sudden it just everybody just forgets about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They forget it exists. So I don't know if that's necessarily... That's probably worse than like being a Balan Wonderworld. Or is it Wonderland or Wonderworld?
Because everyone will remember that it was notoriously bad and didn't make any sense.
Right. But before I get too off topic, let me talk about some other tiny little interesting details. So I believe from the same financial report, we also learned that they're still planning on having SMT5 come out within the fiscal year, which means that it could come out at the late, according to their financial report, if it is to come out within the fiscal year, I believe it would come out early 2022 at the latest, which means they're probably still aiming at SMT5 coming out within the year. Now, that could obviously change when E3 rolls around, Nintendo Direct comes on. I'm imagining that's when we're going to get our next update on SMT5. And they will give us an update.
Oh, during Nintendo's?
Yeah, because that's the thing is a lot of people tend to forget this, but SMT has quite the history with Nintendo. In fact, aside from a few weird games, SMT is more or less a Nintendo franchise. I mean, you have SMT3, which was on PS2, but then SMT4 was on 3DS. And then you also had Apocalypse, which was basically the sequel to 4 on 3DS. Original one was on, I don't know if it's NES or SNES, because I haven't played the original. But one of those, SMT2 as well. The only one that was like, I mean, there are a few that aren't on there, but you have SMT3 Nocturne, which was a PS2 game. You also have SMT9, which was on Xbox.
I gotta get Nocturne. I have not gotten that yet.
Yeah, I just got it, so I've only just started it, but I want to play through it. That's another thing I may as well mention while we're talking about it, is that just released yesterday in the West. So it will be interesting to see if that sparks anybody's like interest. It makes me very curious how that's going to sell in relation to something like Persona 4, which had obviously the huge success of Persona 5 backing it.
I hope it does well.
I think the thing is, I think it's going to be reverse, where SMT3 HD sales might be disappointing for them, but I think when SMT 5 comes out, I think that's going to kickstart this huge interest in SMT all of a sudden. I think SMT 5 will basically be the Persona 5, of specifically mainline SMT. Because I think everybody will have their eye on it. And having a really cool new JRPG by Atlas on the Switch is going to be a big deal. Because that's, Nintendo exclusive. So we have that to look forward to, and we'll definitely get an update. I think at this Nintendo Direct. It's been a long time. They said it's coming out 2021, so it's time to hear more about SMT 5. Time for gameplay.
Yeah, I hope so, and I hope Nintendo brings something to the table at E3 because their last Direct, for me personally, wasn't really bad.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like nothing stood out to me. It just felt more like a bunch of third-party stuff, which is fine, but it was nothing I was really looking forward to.
Right,
I don't think anything grabbed my interest.
I think like the big games were like that Mario Golf game, and
yeah, that's all I remember. Mario Golf,
probably will have a big presence at their Direct anyhow. But not to get too off topic because I don't want to go too far into Nintendo. However, that is one game you can definitely expect at the Nintendo Direct. If it's not there, then it's really time to start panicking, I think, about SMT 5 coming out anytime soon. Because they have to have something. And last we heard, they're targeting this year. And it's been backed up from their financial report. Okay, let's talk about the big things now. We've kind of SMT 5, don't get me wrong, is huge. But there aren't a whole ton of leaks or rumors around it. Let's talk about Persona, or not Persona. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about Sonic. I'm going to let you kind of take this one, Blur. You know a lot more. So let's first talk about the rumors, and then we'll talk about what's going on this week or tomorrow.
Okay. So, basically, rumors have come out about multiple games, like Zippo leaked stuff, and then there's this website that does translations and stuff for Sega. They accidentally leaked stuff on their website for a Sonic Colors remaster, which really only came out on the Wii. You can't get it anywhere else, so it makes sense that they'd want to bring it back. And it was one of their better selling games and better critically viewed games. So it makes sense that they would want to bring it out to multiple consoles now, called Sonic Colors Ultimate. So that got leaked. And then they also accidentally leaked a Sonic collection for the 30th anniversary. And a big thing about that is there's this one's just a rumor that they might have found a way to put Sonic 3 and Knuckles in the collection. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my absolute favorite game. So if that's true, I'm super excited about that. And I'd love to see that, but that means that they would have had to figure out the issues with the music. And the only thing about that I would be upset about is that it means they probably would have had to change the music entirely.
Right, and that's...
They either had to rewrite music, or they found a way to make it work to keep the songs. But I would probably more bet on the music not being there and being different.
That's what I've heard too. And if any of you guys just have any questions or whatever about that, a brief summary, I'm sure you can find all sorts of stuff about this. There's, we know for sure Michael Jackson was involved in the production of the music of the game. There was a bunch of legal disputes with, I believe, the Jackson estate, since he's passed away and everything. So they haven't been able to release Sonic 3 and Knuckles since, what was it, Mega Collection?
Since Sonic Mega Collection, which was in like the early 2000s.
So it's been missing in action in terms of like official Sega ports forever. That's why every Sega collection you see, they'll only have Sonic 1 and 2. Never 3.
Yeah, that's why Sonic 3 and Knuckles never got a mobile port, even though Christian Whitehead made one.
Oh, he actually made one.
Yeah, he made one, but they never distributed it.
Oh man, that would rule. I'd love to have that back. So I wonder if that would make that possible then. Like, if they figured out the legal disputes, if they could take that port and just switch up the music.
Yeah.
This also...
It would be fun.
This also brings up a question. So, okay, for any of you guys who know this, T-Lopes does the music for Sonic Mania. Did a great job on all the remixes and everything. Very well respected, I think, in the Sonic community now. So here's the question. A while back, there was a rumor that T-Lopes was working on something new Sonic related, and people are like, Sonic Mania 2? Do you think they could be bringing in T-Lopes to do the music for the levels that they have to replace?
Actually, I would be okay with that then. I'd still be sad just because the old music is like nostalgic.
Right.
Even if it is just Michael Jackson song rip-offs. But still. But he does a good job, so he'd probably make it good.
So my question is...
if that is what it... That's a good theory that he could be working on that.
Because that's the thing, is he was hinting at something Sonic related, and I believe the tweet said something along the lines of, you guys aren't going to believe what I'm working on. And everybody was like,
I wouldn't believe
Sonic
that.
Mania. But to me, that almost seems too far-fetched. Whereas if you said, oh, they called him in to do the music for Sonic 3 and Knuckles for this new collection, to me, that would be like something, oh, that seems more plausible, because we know, as far as we know, none of the Sonic Mania team is coming back to work on anything. But it would make way more sense if only T-Lopes was brought in to do that music. I mean, I would prefer them to be working on Sonic Mania 2. But it'd be totally cool if T-Lopes was doing the music for 3. So...
there's also another rumor about another Sonic game.
Okay, I haven't heard anything about this.
So there's rumors of, like, so there's the collections games. Now, these ones are mostly just rumors, but everyone pretty much, expects a new 3D Sonic game. Know nothing about it. That's just all we know, is that there's probably one in the works. Don't know for how long. People suspect it could have been the full 4 years that Sega has been silent, or they might have only been working on it for 2 years, which would make a lot of people worried, because a lot of the past Sonic games are only in production for 2 years and the quality is not great. But another rumor is that there's a 2D Sonic game, more in the style of Sonic Rush. Not necessarily like Sonic Mania, but Sonic Rush, being made by the people who made Sonic Rush before, so like they would have outsourced it to them. So it wouldn't be Sega working on it, it's this other company. They license it out to them. So, I mean, that could be cool. I only played Sonic Rush. I never played Sonic Rush Adventure. But I remember liking Rush. So, it'd still be pretty cool, and it wouldn't be on, since 3DS, I guess it'd probably be more like on Switch, and I could see them putting it on, like, PC and stuff, too. I don't know if it's anywhere close to being ready, but they could be announcing that kind of stuff, too. So, it's another rumor.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think I briefly heard something about that somewhere. There are a lot of different leakers, reporting on different things. So I will say, I think it's pretty certain Sonic Colors and the Sonic Collection will happen probably tomorrow. The thing that's...
yeah, there's a big Sonic announcement thing. If you haven't heard it already, Sonic Central showing at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 a.m. Pacific, where they're going to be announcing stuff. And what I expect from there is, obviously, they're probably going to talk about merchandise. Not a surprise there. If I think they'll probably reveal Sonic Colors Ultimate and the collection, I think that they'll at least announce that. I don't know if we'll see anything about fully brand new Sonic game. We might get a tease for it, if anything. But I don't know if I'm expecting that. And I think they'll talk a bit about the Sonic movie. Not a whole ton. I think they'll just be like, hey, get ready. It's coming out next year in April. Be excited.
Have they finished shooting?
And then maybe talk about the Sonic cartoon.
Do you know if they finished shooting Sonic movie 2?
Not yet. They were in Hawaii. They finished shooting up in one area, and then they went to Hawaii for 2 weeks. I don't know if they're still there or they're just leaving now.
Gotcha. So no
but
trailer.
shots have came out.
We shouldn't expect any footage of the Sonic 2 movie.
No, they just started getting the animators in now. They actually, the voice actor for Sonic, he posted on Twitter that he went in just the other day to start doing voice lines.
So
I don't think they have a trailer ready.
So what do you think about Sonic Prime? Do you think we're going to see anything for that?
I think it's possible. Another big news that just came out today, Roger Craig Smith, Sonic's voice actor, if you didn't know, about 2 months ago, he said that he was no longer going to be doing the voice for Sonic, but then today he was like, hey guys, I'm back.
So I imagine that he just re-auditioned, you think?
I think what we've heard from what I've saw other people talk about, he left on his own terms.
Oh.
So I think something went on behind the scenes that Sega probably wasn't offering him something like benefits or something, and so he's like, okay, I'm not it's not worth his time.
They must have renegotiated.
It's like I want to. Yeah, I think they had to negotiate stuff. So either something they really wanted him and were willing to, work it out with him, but he's back as voicing Sonic.
Which I know it's... I learned today that he's a pretty controversial Sonic voice. A lot of people must not like him, but I actually like him as Sonic. I think he makes that character feel more grounded.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it because they think he makes Sonic sound too old, which I can understand, but I think his voice is just fine. I don't think it's really any better or worse than the other voice actors for Sonic.
Sure. I've
grown used to his voice. He's voiced Sonic the longest now out of all of them.
Yeah, and he's going to continue, I guess, probably for a while. At least a year or more, I would imagine. So, Sonic Prime could be there, I assume. I mean, isn't it being developed for Netflix?
Yes, it's going to be Netflix.
And doesn't it have to do with, like, the Sonic... Is it time travel, or was it, like, a multiverse thing? I can't remember.
It's like, it sounds to me like it's a multiverse thing, because, here, let me bring up the synopsis. Let me look it up.
Yeah, while you're talking about that,
Sonic.
I was just going to say, there could be a number of things that are at this Sonic Central thing. I am not going to be there while it's airing. Unfortunately, I work while that's airing. So Blur is probably going to watch it live. I may come back and watch it. If there's anything notable and Blur lets me know, I'll do some sort of reaction to it and then probably post it. Because I am excited to see it. However, I have not... unless there's maybe a brand new 3D Sonic game or something crazy about the collection, I wouldn't necessarily expect me to do any sort of reaction. I think it's interesting the way they worded the announcement for Sonic Central as well. They make it sound like it's not all of the announcements, because they said there will be some announcements, but they make it sound like they might be keeping some more stuff in store for maybe later in the year.
Yeah, either later in the year. I think like they'll announce things maybe like the collection and the remasters, because E3's coming up and maybe they want to show off those games.
That's true.
Like be like, here's the announcement, and then people can fully check it out at E3. I don't remember if E3's live or just all digital, so I guess we'll see.
Random question before you read the synopsis for Sonic Prime, if anybody's curious. Has there ever been a Sonic announcement at E3, or have Sonic announcements always been on like their own turf?
I know okay, so I remember they teased Sonic Lost World a little bit before E3, because I remember people making jokes about the villain silhouettes and being like, that one looks like Bowser, that one looks like a Pokemon, and stuff like that. I remember that. And then I remember they fully showed it off at E3. So I'm pretty sure that one actually got announced at E3.
Okay. I was just curious.
Because that's the first time we saw gameplay for it.
Gotcha. So then it's not unprecedented that they would have more to show at E3.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very possible they'll have more in the show because they kind of did the same with Sonic Boom. They showed it off at E3. They kind of announced it before E3, but then they showed it at E3.
Gotcha. Well, let's read this synopsis then.
Okay, so it says Sonic Prime is described as a high adventure following Sonic and his race to save a strange new multiverse. So I guess they're going, I don't know if they're going to be traveling to a bunch of different dimensions or they're going to be like in space with a bunch of aliens or something, but the show is also described as a journey of self-discovery and redemption.
So we're gonna see a
So I
bunch
don't
of
know if like
different
Sonic messes
Sonics.
something up and
Mm-hmm.
but that's pretty much all it says that we know.
So I'm gonna go on a wild. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say Sonic Prime is probably going to feature. Obviously, Classic Sonic will make an appearance. There's no way Classic Sonic doesn't appear in that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It's like he goes and then he runs it. I mean, even like Sonic Boom.
Right.
If they make a reference, he jumps into the Sonic Boom world.
Yes,
That'd be kind of
that'll
funny.
definitely happen. I also would not be surprised if we get like a Ben Schwartz Sonic appearance where he plays his version of
Yeah.
Sonic. I also would not be surprised if Jaleel White makes an appearance,
Oh,
like a
that would be
cameo.
hilarious if they had like adventures.
Right. And I'm thinking, like, if you're doing multiverse Sonic, you're going to try to bring in as many different weird versions of Sonic as you can. Although, the one thing we know
I
they
would
probably
bring in all
won't
the
be able to
weird
do is any sort of reference to the Archie Sonic.
Yeah, with all the legal stuff. Well, they might be able to bring in some. I don't know. It might be kind of hard to pull, but
Right.
maybe.
Are there any other versions of Sonic? Like, I'm sure there are.
Sonic Underground.
Sonic Underground. Oh, I didn't think about that. You could even do weird stuff like,
You could even make up your own. They'll probably make up some of their own.
I don't know, maybe he'll even be going into older games, or I don't know, maybe weirder Sonic stuff like Sonic the Fighter.
Or maybe he jumps into other Sega franchises.
Yeah, well,
Can you imagine? He just jumps into like Persona or something.
that'd be nuts. Because, like, yeah, I mean, obviously the multiverse, I assume and they talk about self-discovery. I assume they're talking about Sonic himself. They'll probably have to make up
Yeah.
some original versions of Sonic, maybe just for this series too. But I really want to know what the style of this series looks like.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of it, I was actually I was looking for some jobs the other day and I was like, "Huh, I wonder what company was." So I was trying to remember what company was animating for them. So I looked it up and I went to their website and they are still hiring for people to work specifically on the show. They said to work on the new Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. They need 3D animation riggers and that was only posted like a month ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're still looking for hiring for people to work on the show.
So that is interesting. Anybody who's a Sonic fan, I think, should keep an eye on this because this just sounds like an interesting project. Because we haven't gotten any sort of modern Sonic cartoon aside from Boom. We've gotten Boom, but that was, a very distinct version of Sonic that isn't necessarily reflective of what Sonic typically is. Then again, I don't think we've ever gotten.
And it's more like a slice of life comedy thing.
I don't think we've ever gotten like a particularly accurate version of Sonic in cartoon form, have we?
I think the closest anyone's ever gotten is probably, I want to say the OVA.
Oh, that's true.
Like
yeah.
that was probably the closest, and then probably Sonic X.
Yeah.
Because it did follow some game line stories, but then they kind of did their own things. But that was like the mix of like doing the action of the characters being the characters, but they also had the thing that's like most of the time we're in a human world, we're not in Sonic's world. It's like, let's just do Sonic's world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think this will be a really cool. I'm definitely curious about it, and I would still consider myself a fairly casual Sonic fan. I would say I'm like in between. I'm not the most casual Sonic fan, but I'm definitely not like hardcore Sonic fan. I'm like weirdly in the middle. So
That makes sense. It's probably honestly the best way to go about it.
do you have any final thoughts on Sonic before we move on to some of the other things? Because we'll be speculating about
They
E3.
did release I mentioned it to you earlier, before we started recording. They did this video the other day where they, for Sonic's 30th anniversary, and at the very end, there's a small clip of Sonic running through a forest, and he has like this, like, he's kind of like glowing, and all of these fans like looked into it, and they're like, this isn't anywhere else in like any of like cutscenes or any animation, and they're like, this is new footage.
Now, let me ask you, is this like cutscene footage or is this real time?
Yeah, it's like CGI footage.
Okay.
Um, and it's only you only see for like a split second. But what I think that's from, people are like, that has to be from the new Sonic game, the 3D Sonic game. But I think it's probably from Colors. Because in Colors, when you get the Wisp power-ups, Sonic kind of glows a bit. And it looks like the laser Wisp. So I think it's probably a new, like, it's gonna be like, when they reveal Sonic Colors Ultimate, they'll be like, here's a new CGI thing for it to get people excited, or maybe they're making a whole new intro for Sonic Colors.
I mean, here's the thing. It's called Sonic Colors Ultimate, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's added content, so probably some new levels here and there, and they could have some new cutscenes.
They probably. So yeah, they'll probably have that, and if it's not that, then it might be from the Sonic cartoon.
Oh,
like maybe they
that's
have a little
true.
bit show.
I didn't think about that.
Because I could see the cartoon using wisps in the cartoon.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I didn't think about that. But yeah, you're right. Especially if it's CG. It's hard to tell. I mean, I guess it could be from a new game, but I don't know. I think we're just so on edge about Sega right now, at least when it comes to Sonic, that it's hard to wrap your head around them it's hard to wrap your head around them showing a new game. Like, it's been 4 years. Every indication should be that they have a new game.
We were literally talking just a few months ago, like, actually, like, last month, we were like, when do you think you'll hear Sonic news? And I'm like, I'm hoping June, but then I was like, I doubt it. We probably won't hear it till, like, July or September.
And how weird how weird is it that the only things that we're really, like, confident about is a remaster and a collection of a bunch of old games.
I know.
And it's like they've had 4 years.
Which is sad because it's supposed to be the 30th anniversary, but I think we won't see actual games. Oh yeah, another thing, Sonic Colors Ultimate is supposedly supposed to come out this year in September. I don't know when the collections might come out. Probably sometime holiday, I assume.
That could be true.
If they get it already by then. But like new Sonic games, I don't think we're going to see those till 2022. I don't think we're going to get anything this year.
Yeah. There have been a lot of rumors about troubles in development, which seems pretty obvious just from our standpoint, considering it's been so long. I feel like Sonic Team has been struggling, especially in terms of just like team management for the past decade or more.
Yeah.
However,
actually,
I will say about 2010 to 2017 probably had more successful games than 2000 to 2010 did.
Yeah. I did see an interesting I was listening to someone's video and they mentioned this, and I guess he talked about this in 2020, November 2020. The producer of Yakuza said he was interested and would love an opportunity to work on the Sonic the Hedgehog game, and he would want to do something that no one's ever seen before. Which would be like, oh, that'd be cool.
That would be interesting.
And apparently, when they were announcing the Sonic Central announcement for tomorrow, his company the department he works in, their Twitter uploaded that announcement.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if that means anything.
Nagoshi, huh? Man, I would love to see how he would approach Sonic. I think he's had like a new, I think he got promoted or something recently. He's a pretty high up guy at Sega now. He has been for quite a while. But because he doesn't necessarily direct games anymore. He's more of a executive producer, maybe a creative director. I can't remember exactly what his job description is, but yeah. So we've talked a lot about Sonic. We've talked a lot about all these other games. So obviously you guys know we primarily talk about Persona on here, Atlas in general. So we have Sega coming at E3 and Summer Games Fest. What do you think the chances of a Persona announcement being at either of those shows is?
I don't know. I don't know. Have they ever announced anything at E3? Atlas seems very much that they like to do their own thing.
Right. But there's
Like it's
been
like
one
we are going to
exception.
announce what our games come out.
The only exception, at least that I know of, was last year at the PC Game Show, which was technically what is technically an E3 show. I guess it was independent last year, but will probably be part of E3 this year. They had the P4 Golden Steam announcement.
They might announce like Persona 3.
That's what I'm thinking. I think if E3,
unless they wait till like whenever Persona 4 was announced.
right, and that was during E3 time, I believe, or at least the PC gaming show. It may have been September, but usually it's during June, or maybe it came out. I can't remember. Regardless, it was a shadow drop. It came out, I believe, that day or the next. I remember it was a Sunday, and everybody was just like, "This is the craziest thing ever." So I wouldn't be surprised if we get like P3 Fest dropped at the PC gaming show. I know a lot of people are talking about it, so it's not like it's anything crazy to say here.
I would love a Persona 3 remake, but I think it's more likely that they'll do a port.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There's been no indication for me to actually believe at this point that there's any sort of P3 remake in production, as much as I would love there to be one. And I don't think it's... I
mean that they won't do it eventually,
right.
But I think they saw how successful a port was.
And we also
so they'll probably do one to Persona 3.
We just had SMT3 HD come out. It seems like they're really starting to focus on these remasters. If they can salvage an old game, they'll do that before they do a remake, obviously. Not to say that they couldn't do a from-the-ground-up remake at some point. But it seems like they're starting to realize that there's money to be made in actually bringing back their older games. So that's what I would expect, at least at E3. I don't know what Sega will have at Summer Games Fest unless it's just, like we said before, just them showing more off of Sonic, or maybe it's Humankind or Total War, or maybe it's just a game I don't know about. I guess you could have some new PSO, new Genesis stuff.
They want to make a first-person shooter.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, Sega could have stuff in production that we just have no idea about. I mean, obviously they have some stuff in production we have no idea about. So here's a game that I think everybody forgets about. I think everybody has completely forgotten that this game is even happening. And that's Hoshino's next game, Project Refantasy. We're absolutely going to see that game this year. 100%. I'm willing to bet my life that we will see that game this year. I just don't know what venue we're going to see it at, but E3 makes a lot of sense, considering it's never been shown off before. It's either going to be at E3 or it's going to be at Tokyo Game Show. And Sega is going to be at both Summer Games Fest and E3, so I guess it could be shown off there. It was supposed to be shown off in 2020 for the first time, but that didn't happen. So now we're in 2021. Last we heard back in, I think it was like December, or maybe it was January, they said they're at the peak of development. So people are saying, oh, they're at the end of development. I think what that means is they're in the heaviest point of development. I don't necessarily think that means they're at the end of development. Obviously they're not, because we would have heard about it by now. But I do think that by the time we see it, we're probably going to get a release date too. I don't think it's just going to be an announcement and then we hear nothing about it. I think we're going to get at least a release year. I'm sure they're targeting next year, but
yeah,
it's time to hear about that game. That game's been in development for a long time.
I don't think we're gonna hear any brand new Persona games. Like we are not gonna see Persona 6.
No, not at least not at E3. I don't think we'll see anything other than maybe a Persona 3 remaster. I would love to be wrong. But that brings up another question. We know for sure we're getting a Persona 25th anniversary event this year. And we talked about this at the end of last year, thinking we were going to hear about it by like March. I was thinking maybe after the SMT concert, they would make some sort of announcement about the Persona one. Then there was like all those Persona concerts they were re-airing, and I think those finished airing in April. And I was like, oh, if they're re-airing all of them, they must be about to announce one. And the actual, I think, 25th anniversary of Persona is in September. We've got to hear about it at some point. And I know there's going to be a lot of game announcements, obviously, at E3, but do you think that Atlus would make, like, an announcement for a venue to announce Persona games at during E3 or something? Like, does that seems like a weird thing.
Do a teaser of a teaser, so maybe they'll be like, hey, check us out after E3. I mean, I could see them maybe doing that, but I think they are very much, they want to announce things when they want to announce it, unless Sega pressures them to be like, hey, you gotta show something at E3.
Right. And we've also got to remember, we had that weird mobile game, which I still believe is going to be something Persona. A lot of people think that it's probably just a Chinese knockoff that's really shameless. I will say, there are some weird things going on with the website that have changed, almost like, you know, there might be some issues legally with what they did. So maybe we're wrong. Maybe that's not a Persona 5 game, but they are showing deliberately that they're assets. There are also rumors, or I guess people have claimed they've confirmed that it is within the Persona universe. So there is still that game, and we haven't heard anything about it since. So I still think that whenever we get the Persona, like, official venue, maybe they'll officially announce that game with its full name and not its code name. But we also had an interesting thing happen recently where a bunch of Persona, I can't remember if it was, I think it was domain names. We had a bunch that got dropped. They didn't get renewed by Atlus. I think it was like Persona P5AB, maybe, what were some of the other ones that got dropped?
Yeah, there were some that got dropped. It was AG, it was
oh yeah, it wasn't AB, AG, maybe P5B got dropped, because that was when they registered before. But the
one they re-registered was P5U.
Right. Which to me is the most interesting thing, because it's like, wait a second. Does that mean Persona 5 Arena actually has a chance at existing?
A chance.
Because for all intents and purposes, if you look at what Arc System Works is working on, it doesn't feel like they have any room in their development schedule to fit in Persona 5 Arena, at least anytime soon. Because they're currently, obviously they're working on Guilty Gear Strive, and then I believe their other team is working on DNF Duel, which we've gotten like a teaser for, but we haven't actually seen anything of. So it seems like both teams are pretty heavily in development of whatever they're working on. Then again, Strive, I guess, technically releases fairly soon, but I mean, they'd just be coming off of development of that. And DNF Duel, I'm imagining, is pretty heavy in development right now. So does that mean there's no room for Persona 5 Arena? I don't know. P5U was registered. Does that even mean Persona 5 Ultimax? Who knows? That's what they used. P4U was the acronym for Persona 4 Arena, the sequel at least, I think. So would P5 use that same naming convention? I am not sure. It's incredibly hard to tell. P5U could still be anything. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a fighting game. It doesn't even necessarily mean it'll be used. We just know it's been renewed, which seems very interesting. And aside from that, we have no idea what Atlus is, at least the Persona team, is working on.
Yeah, we
So
don't know if they're working on Persona 6 or they're doing another thing.
right. I mean, I know that the director of Strikers, he had expressed interest in doing some sort of sequel, but there was no indication if that they were actually going to produce one or not. So, um,
A sequel to Strikers?
yeah, he talked about this a long time ago. I think right when it came out in Japan, he had talked about wanting to do. I believe so. I read an article about it where he basically said if he could do another one, he'd like to explore it or something. But again, there's no indication if that will actually like happen. That would because it was a collaborative effort between them and Koei Tecmo. So
That's true. It would be cool if they did one for like Persona 4.
yeah, that would be cool actually. Yeah, taking the Strikers formula and doing some sort of pseudo sequel to P4, P3 could be really cool.
Yeah.
I would love that actually, because I think that would be more interesting because it's been so long since we've seen those characters. So, yeah, I'd forgotten we had talked about that a while back, that idea. Whether or not it'll happen, I don't know. But so, yeah, when do you think, if you had to guess as to when this Persona 5 25th anniversary event is going to happen, what would you think?
You said September. Maybe they might be shooting for that. Though it's kind of hard to tell because sometimes they're just like we're announcing something tomorrow.
That's
Companies do that a
true. I
lot now.
mean,
They're just like, look out. So it's kind of hard to guess, but I'm hoping. I mean, a lot of games are announcing stuff right now.
mhm.
Um, I don't know if Atlas. I don't know. I haven't known Atlas long enough to try to guess their trends, but I know like when Royal was coming out, they announced stuff like around Christmas.
Yeah, and then the event happened in April. Because here's
Where
the
they
thing.
announced the concert
Right.
for April.
And
So watch them do something be like, hey, maybe they will do another concert like more near the end of the year, so maybe there's still a chance.
I think there is. I think sometime between, like you said, September to November. I think at the latest, at least this is what I believe. Watch me be completely wrong. I feel like I'm always wrong about stuff, so you guys should never take what I say seriously. But I feel like the latest we're going to hear about this event has got to be by August. I can't imagine. I mean, I guess they could announce the concert on the day of the actual 25th anniversary, but we're 100% going to hear something about the 25th anniversary by the actual date of the 25th anniversary of Persona. I don't think you just miss that day without announcing your venue at the very least. I would hope that by
Yeah.
then we'll actually have the full concert announced and happened. By the time, maybe it'll actually be the day of the anniversary will be the concert, but we just haven't heard anything from them. So and they've rotated before when they did the concerts. They did them in April, and sometimes I think they'd done them in August before. So it's not completely unprecedented for it to have happened in summer. But man, do I just want to hear about it. But I definitely don't expect them to have an announcement at E3. It would be cool. Maybe we hear about the venue sometime around E3. But I imagine it's just going to be like a random Twitter drop that they're just like, hey, register for reserve tickets now for the concert in Japan. I don't know. Atlas just kind of seems like an old school company. I just imagine they're set in their ways. So I can't imagine that they would totally change things up. I think it's going to be a concert, and like I said, I think we will hear about it by August, September at the very, very latest. So, well, I think that
Yeah, I guess we'll see. These next few weeks may be pretty crazy in game news. Hopefully, it might be. Since the pandemic put everyone on a backlog.
right. Well, definitely
Might be actually pretty quiet.
definitely expect us guys to cover more of this. I mean, there's going to be games that'll probably get announced that we'll want to talk about. I would like to do reaction streams to or not necessarily streams. I'll probably pre-record them, but reactions to some of the live events. Probably Nintendo Direct for sure. I'm looking at maybe the PlayStation. I'm sure they're doing some sort of state of play. Maybe the Xbox conference. There could be some cool stuff there, especially with Bethesda being part of it now. I think that just got confirmed for June 13th, I believe. So I guess we'll see what happens, but I will definitely be trying to record what I can, just in case something cool does happen. The thing is, the last time I've recorded reaction streams, they've all just been disappointing. I think I tried to record one for some of the Tekken announcements because I thought we were going to have a Yakuza character get added. That didn't happen. We tried to do a reaction stream for Smash Brothers when Steve got added, and it was just us complaining.
Very entertaining.
It was like us talking about how stupid of a character Steve is. So I'm like, oh man, people would hate us if we actually posted this. And then I think I decided for the Game Awards, I'm like, nothing cool is going to happen at the Game Awards. I'm not going to stream our reaction. And then Sephiroth happened and was actually a good reaction, and I didn't get it recorded. So it's like everything is out to get me. And then, of course, now all these cool announcements are actually happening, and I'm missing them because of work. So I didn't get to do my live Lost Judgment reaction. I'm not going to probably be able to do a live Sonic one. I might be able to do one afterwards if Blur lets me know that there's like some cool stuff announced. I'll just avoid the news that day and then watch it. But I guess we'll see. Hopefully there's some cool games. Do you have any final thoughts or wants from Sega over the next few months?
I just want them to do well.
Right.
Like I like Sonic, and it's so hard. I just want them to succeed. And it's like you can tell that they care, but they don't put in like all the work that they need to. And they've promised so many times, it's like, we are going to make sure that we produce quality content from now on. And it's just like, I don't know if I can trust you guys. It's like, I want to. It's like, I want you guys to succeed. I want to see you succeed. It's not fun watching you guys fail and everyone make fun of you.
Oh, absolutely.
I just feel bad. I just feel bad for the people involved.
I feel especially bad for...
It's like, it's not even about the game that I'm disappointed in the game. I just feel bad for the people.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel especially bad for Sonic Team right now. A, because it's been so long. You know they've been working on something that either got scrapped or that they had to restart over and over, or they're just not confident about just because they've been so quiet.
Like, honestly, even if it's like it's our 30th anniversary game, if they need to delay it, it's like, honestly, at this point, it's like, I've already waited this long. You can just give me the collection and the remaster. It'll be fine. I can wait for the new game.
And then you've got to also feel bad for them because they're looking at their peers and they're like, oh man, the Yakuza team, they're putting out hit after hit after hit every year, and they get pretty high praise, or at least consistent praise. And then they're like, oh man, Atlus has all these killer titles coming out with the Persona games and Shin Megami Tensei, and Vanillaware just put out 13 Sentinels and got tons of praise. And, you know, it was up for a few Game of the Year in certain places. And Sonic Team's sitting there like, oh man, how are we going? And then you see that Sega, the year that, like, you know, Sonic basically has 0 games come out, Sega all of a sudden becomes like the highest rated publisher that year, when you aggregated like all their games. And it makes me feel so bad for Sonic Team.
Oh no, you know what's funny? During their financial thing, like, yeah, Yakuza sold a lot and so did Atlus, but the games that made the most money for them were Sonic.
Really? Did
Yeah,
Sonic Team Racing
even though
come out
Sonic
last year?
has not come out with anything, Sonic has made them a ton of money still because people are still buying their games.
Well, hey, if nothing else, they're a commercial success, I guess.
Yeah.
Which
So it's like
sometimes
a
is all that
long,
matters.
consistent thing. People are still buying the games, even if people don't think he's relevant. It's like, well, they're still making money, so.
How well did Sonic and Mario at the Olympics 2020 make?
Oh,
Or
I
how
doubt it
successful
made
was that? I
much.
mean, yeah,
I don't know how. I didn't get it, so
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know anybody who plays those games nowadays.
I had the first one where it was just Mario and Sonic at the Olympics before they actually started adding like the names of the places where the Olympics took place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I got the London one, so I think those were like the first two. And
Gotcha.
those are the ones I got. I've played them like once and I never touched them again. I should probably just sell them.
Yeah. Well, I think that probably about wraps it up. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have anything you're looking forward to, I'd be interested to hear what you guys are hoping to see or thinking you will see. So you can always leave a comment about it. And I try to look through all my comments just to get an idea of what people want. And also, if there's anything else you'd like us to discuss, especially during E3, I'd love to hear it. I am hopefully going to be putting out content more consistently on a regular basis. I know I've disappeared for quite a while, so I just want to apologize for that. I've been pretty busy. I have school during the summer, and work. So working 30 hours on top of all my school assignments has really eaten into my time. But I just want to let you guys know I want to put out more stuff. I know one of you guys before talked about getting my thoughts on SMT Nocturne Remastered. I'm currently playing through it. I've only just started. It's probably going to take me a while to get through it. I know it's a brutal game, so I'm working on that. I've also been playing through 13 Sentinels, and I'm really enjoying that game. So definitely expect more stuff like that, and I want to start looking into getting more guests. I just want to give you guys that brief update at the end because I know it's been a while. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys next week. Okay. So we talked for